They say that people fear public speaking more than they fear death. I don't think that's true. I'm Rabbi Daniel Lapin, and I want to make sure that you not only overcome whatever fear of public speaking that you might have, but that you actually embrace every opportunity that comes your way. You've probably been at family gatherings where, Uncle Fred looks around and says, well, who's going to give a toast to the happy couple? And his eyes alight on you, and you want to slink into invisibleness because the last thing you want to do is be called upon to present a toast. Or sometimes at a business meeting, very often situations occur where a manager looks around a team and says, we need somebody who's going to make this presentation to the group next Wednesday. And this is like being back in grade school and the teacher's looking at a pick on somebody and you want to become invisible so you won't be. No. When you have mastered the principles and explanations that I hope to impart to you, you will jump up with enthusiasm, eager to be selected to be the one to deliver that speech. One of the reasons I think that people do fear public speaking is because they're not altogether sure about what to do with their hands. What is the posture? And we'll talk about some of the mistakes on this. There are many mistakes, but there are only a few really important ones. One of them is, and this is done very commonly, I even see politicians doing it, who really ought to have guides on their staff who should say to them, don't do that. But that is where people do this. They get up to the lectern, they're about to give the speech, and they put their hands on the podium like this, and they hold on for dear life. Don't do that, because the impression that casts, and it may be subconscious, I'm not saying anybody consciously says, oh, look, no, it's that the impression you're giving is that you are being propped up by the lectern. It's a posture of weakness. And if there's one thing that you want to radiate as a public speaker, you want to radiate strength. You are the expert. That's why you're on the stage. And so gripping the lectern like this means it's holding you up. Without the lectern, you'd collapse into a pile of jelly. So we don't want to grip the lectern. The other part of gripping the lectern that is terrible is that it forces your elbows into your body. There's a big difference between a lion and a bird. We think of lions as powerful, regal animals, but we don't think of birds that way. And one of the geniuses of Alfred Hitchcock in that old, wonderful movie with Tippi Hedren called The Birds, if you haven't seen it, you should, because it's so clever, was to turn birds into the instrument of horror and fear and terror. Well, birds have jerky little movements. And doesn't this look bird-like if I tuck my elbows in and my hands flutter around? Terrible idea. One wants to make absolutely sure not to do that. It's far better to just have your hands in your pockets if you have to. But most effective of all is to use arm movements. Not forearm, but entire arm movements. Sweeping, large movements. And those kind of movements emphasize. It's okay to drum home a point by doing something like this. It's fine to say, point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. But the more dynamic you are, the more people's attention is focused on you as a speaker. These things take practice, and that's why God invented mirrors. You can give yourself a short speech in the bathroom mirror and use your arms to their full effect. It becomes compelling, and you can actually see on videos, you'll see great speakers of history have always spoken in that fashion, used arm movements most effectively. Onwards and upwards.